Hello, this is going to be a quick tutorial on using the php.env library. So this is a library that we can use in order to remove hard-coded credentials from our application code. Okay, so if I go over to PHP Storm, I have this little application just to create posts, and I'm using a database. And currently I have this, this repository.php file where I'm configuring the hostname, username, the database name, and password that we're using to connect to the database. So I'm just using a MySQLi connection, but you could use PDO or something like that if you wanted. So what this .env dependency is going to allow us to do is have an environment-specific file, and we'll have all our credentials in that file. And then when we switch from a, let's say, development environment to maybe a QA environment or a staging or production environment, we can have a different env file. So I'll create this file here. And then I'll go over back to this dependency and we'll look at how they say to install it. So we can just use Composer. Great. Require that in. Okay, and we can actually ignore the security vulnerabilities. That's just because of another dependency that I have. If I do Composer audit, I just have a really old version of Guzzle for no particular reason in here. Okay, so what we can do at this point is we can configure this dependency. So what I'll do is I'll first add a use statement here. So I'll say use.env, and we'll require in we'll have the actual dependency auto-loaded for us. So this use statement is just an alias. It would be equivalent to saying use.env as .env. Okay, so after this point, we can go down to our constructor where we have these credentials, and we can create a .env object. So we'll say .env is equal to .env, and we can call this create immutable function. Okay, so currently I'm in the source repositories and repository.php file. So I'm 2 directories down from where the env file is. So what I'll do is use this dir for the directory where the current script is, and then I'll go back up 2 directories. Okay, so that should get us to the same folder as the env file. And then we can just call .env load. Okay, so at this stage, we can go back over to our env file, and we can set a few variables here. So I'll say hostname is equal to localhost. Oops. DB password, or dbpass. For me, it's just an empty password because I'm just in my local development environment. And then we have a db user. So for me, that is root. And what was the other? Hostname, username, database name. Okay, so in here I'll just put the posts web app there. Great. Okay, so now that we have our .env file set up, we can go back to our repository.php, and we'll be able to replace these with $_env and access the keys that we define in our .env file. So for the host name, it'll be all uppercase host name. For the username for the database, we have db user. And for the database name, okay, $_env, db name, and then put in the password. So this is db_pass. Okay, so you just have to make sure that these keys here are matching up with the array indexes that you're using. So if we, I'll set a debug breakpoint here. Start xdebug up, and I'll run. I have one test that will cause a database connection to be created. So we should hit this code. So I'll do vendor bin php unit. Great. So we got there, and we can check the env variable. And we can see that it's been able to read in these credentials. So the app.env in this case comes from the php.unit.xml. So if I go there, I'll be able to see that I have this env value there. But the other values are all coming from they're all coming from the .env dependency and the .env file that we've defined. So that's about it. That's how you can use this this .env dependency in order to remove credentials from your application and put them in an environment-specific file like this one. So yeah, you always want to do something like this. You never want to have hard-coded credentials in your applications, because that's going to get checked into version control. And yeah, it's just not a good idea to have hard-coded credentials in there. So using a dependency like this is the right way to build these types of systems. I hope that's helpful. Thanks for watching.